and with others. Our case in point of Scripture today, St. Matthew, before he became Saint Matthew, was a tax collector. For a profession, he went around raising money to support the Roman Empire, which was the occupying power that oppressed and kept down the Jewish people. He was really popular in the neighborhood, wasn't he? Real popular. You have to remember the Roman Empire was built and kept these other groups in line with brutality. Brutality. When they came in, they took over, and anyone who got in the way was leveled. It was a brutal ruling over the other parts of the empire. And Matthew was one who made sure that Rome got its money to pay for its centurions, to pay for its army, to pay for its empire to keep this going on. That's how he made his money. It was by getting the money to make sure that people would be kept down. Tax collectors were not thought of as nice people. Jesus comes up, sees the tax collector collecting money, and he says, "Come, be with me." And he leaves his business right away. He knows he needs a spiritual change in his life. He goes to Jesus. And you know what Jesus does? He goes to Matthew's house to eat with him. And guess what? Matthew's house, it turns out, is where all the tax collectors would go. All the people working under him would go. And they would all go to his house to eat. And there he is, with, as it said, with tax collectors and sinners. God, I wonder, we just left sinners there. You fill in whatever they're like. And they're all there with Jesus eating together. And the Pharisees then come up and want to push the point and talk to his disciples. Not talk to Jesus, but talk to his disciples. You know, your master hangs around with sinners, tax collectors, eats with them. Eats with them. See, to eat with someone, to sit down and have an evening meal and eat and drink with someone, shows that you have fellowship with them, that you're friends. You're friends. That you're okay with each other. Doesn't mean you're okay with everything about them, but it means you're friends, that you are going to meet them at that level. They were very upset with Jesus doing this. Saying, "How dare you?" And they were working on his disciples, trying to get in their mind, "Boy, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. This is wrong. This reflects badly on your teacher. You must not have a good teacher if he goes around sitting around with people like that." It was what was going on. Jesus then turns and he says, "I desire, what you need to do is learn about what I'm calling mercy. What mercy and grace is about. That I would be with sinners. That I would be with someone like this." Try to understand that. Get your head around that, rather than about how you look in front of people. It says the doctor comes looking for the sick. Because if these people are wrong, and Jesus knew they were, he was no friend of the Roman Empire. He still turned and he said, "But I've come to be with them, to care," just as any doctor would. Imagine going up to a doctor who is not gentle when you walk in the room. Come walking in, he said, "What? You sick? Really? Ew, ew. Quick, get me a glove, nurse. Ew, give me a mask before I talk to them. Ew, they're sick. They're sick. Now, what's wrong with you?" Didn't go in judging them. Went up and said, "What's wrong? What's hurt?" He gets to know him. He's there. He's a friend with those, with all that is wrong in their life. And that's why Matthew was attracted. He wasn't just put down. He wasn't looked down. Jesus spoke to him. It was a wonderful thing. John the Baptist and his group, all his disciples, were fasting all the time too, and they had lost their leader. And they said, why don't your disciples fast, Jesus? Why are you all fasting? Why do you always go around eating and drinking with everybody? And he says, well, because the guests of the groom have to be happy. You all know what that's about. You ever been with a bridegroom's party? Who's ever been in a wedding? And you've been with the groom and everybody. And it's the day before, or 2 days before, and you're partying. And you go, oh, I can't marry anymore. And you're having fun, you're going down, you're eating and stuff like that. It's a party. To fast then, to put on a morbid face, you're getting married tomorrow. You say, well, what's wrong with you? This is a good thing. Celebrate. And that's how Jesus describes his disciples. His disciples are like those who are walking with him, and he says, they're the bridegroom's guests. They're at the dinner. It's a joyous thing. Of course, they're not fasting. They're walking with me. There'll come a time when they'll have to do this, when I'll be taken away. He goes, then they'll fast. But he goes, when I'm here, they're not going to do that. We're having a party. It's a joyous atmosphere, and we do eat and drink at these events. I love that all the religious groups are giving the disciples grief about not being right because of Jesus' grace and mercy. Jesus says that the disciples are the ones who are right. That they are guests, and they are acting absolutely perfectly by having a good time with the other guests. The ones that Jesus is with. Because the disciples are with him also when he's eating with the tax collectors and others. The disciples and all of them have a relationship with Jesus, and they have relationships with other people. They don't confine themselves to the club. It's a wonderful picture of what the church is really supposed to be like. The church must be ready for the guests. We're the guests. So when guests come, what should our atmosphere be? Well, it should be that we're the bridegroom's guests. And then if people came to church and got our attitude about it, everyone would be excited. I have never been to a wedding. True. I have never been to a wedding where the groom's men and stuff all together with them aren't excited, happy, and bubbling over. Even in the church. You know, they step up in the library over here before they come out for the actual wedding service. Every time I walk in there, they're laughing, they're joking and stuff. Imagine if that really was how we came to church. Lord, this is going to be great. And other guests arrive. Because you've seen it. Come on, you've been to the wedding. You come walking in, and you see the groom's party there. And you see him smiling, laughing. Oh, we're looking good. Yeah, it's a great day. What if that was our atmosphere in church? Now, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes people come to the wedding, and they're walking up, they're smiling and stuff, and as the door opens, they go, "In the church, be quiet. Don't smile." But then they see the groomsmen and stuff, say, "Hey, where can I see you?" And they're like, "Wow, okay." And they change their attitude. And they have that because they're guests. The guests of the bridegroom, his disciples, his church, are the ones who are seeing him. How do we come into God's presence? I know Jesus, remember, was always accused of eating and drinking too much with people. And so many of the scriptures, have you noticed what they're about? They're about parties. He's talking about guests at a party. The ones who should have taken a lower seat, but others that went up to the bigger seat and they should switch. About other times when he's at another person's house and he's eating and drinking there, and they come up and they anoint his feet. And he goes, "Hey, I should be anointed and stuff." But he's again at another dinner and party with friends. How about when he talks about the guests at a wedding feast and the need for it, and he says this is what it's like, and they're going to go out and bring everybody in and have a great time. Or the wedding feast in Cana, where he has his first miracle ever. The first thing Jesus ever saved, ever, was a party. They were out of wine. It was the first miracle he ever did. The first thing Jesus ever saved was a party. A wedding reception. Before he ever saved even one person. Jesus, no wonder he got accused of being a party animal. Of going around and just having a good time all the time. And having friends and sinners and talking with everybody and accepting